Hello and welcome to another interview here on the Agape Investing channel. We haven't had one in a little bit, and so today I'm really actually probably the most excited I have been about an interview in a while, because today I get to interview my good friend Art Rayner. I was actually thinking about it right before this. I don't know how long we've actually known each other now, but I think we kind of stumbled upon each other a while back because we're both in this faith and finance space. It's kind of inevitable that we run across our paths at some point because there's not tons of us. But today I am really excited because Art is going to share with us this brand new certification program that he has been working on for a very long time, and it is finally ready and available for you to check out. And so today he's going to tell us all about this program and why it might be a benefit for you to potentially get certified as a Christian financial counselor. So with that, welcome, Art. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Which, by the way, I do somewhat remember how we met, at least
Yeah.
the genesis, because I think I actually stumbled across your content and started reading it, diving into your website, and I was like, oh my goodness, because I remember talking to my wife Sarah about your work. And I was like, man, look at all this content. It is great. I need to figure out a way to connect with her. Admittedly, I don't remember the first email that went out or direct message that went out, but I do remember looking at your content and talking with my wife Sarah and saying, I need to figure out a way to connect with Katie because this stuff is really, really good.
Aww.
And finally, after begging you, I get to be on your show. It's been a long time.
I know.
But you gotta work to get into these things.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I've definitely had the blessing to be a guest slash also co-host of your podcast a few times. So for those of you who aren't familiar with some of the stuff that Art has created and been working on himself besides this awesome certification program, he is an author of a handful of books. In fact, I think I have one of my favorite ones right here, The Money Challenge. I usually keep all of my favorite money books right on hand. The Money Challenge is fantastic and one that I always highly recommend to most people because it is so easy and practical to go through. And then Art has a podcast called More Than Money, which is also very awesome, like condensed kind of really impactful episodes that will help you bring your faith into your finances and really think about some of these questions a little bit more in depth and from a biblical perspective. And I've always really appreciated the content you've put into your podcast, into your books, and everything. So yeah, with that, I'm very, very excited to have you today. And
well, anytime that I can come on and talk about God's design for money, I'm game.
Yeah.
And my passion is to help people discover and pursue that design. I believe that God, as you do, has a design for our finances, that he talks about it on a regular basis in the Bible. As you know, there's over 2,000 verses about money, possession, stewardship woven throughout Scripture. God clearly cares about this topic, and for good reason. It's often a reflection of our heart. Money management often reflects heart management, and so it's not surprising to find it woven throughout Scripture. So that's the discover portion, and then pursue. I do like to help people find practical ways to chase after God's design, and pointing them to your content is one of those ways.
Cool. Thanks. That's awesome. I appreciate that. Well, yes, I mean, just as you said, you and I have been very much on the same page as far as our perspective and view, and kind of how we approach this topic of faith and finance. And I've always really enjoyed that and really enjoyed our conversations off screen and off video and everything. And so today, I do want to talk more about that almost like practical piece of helping people apply these truths, these biblical truths to our finances. And so you have now, I know, been working on this certification program for a long time. And so before we dive into what it all entails and unpacking it, I want to just start with the basics and answer that question that maybe some people are thinking right now of what is a certified financial coach, a Christian one at that, because we know that there's lots of different financial professionals out there that can help us with our money. But what is different about being a Christian financial coach, and what is it?
Yeah. So a certified Christian financial counselor helps individuals do what I just talked about, discover and pursue God's design for money. Now, practically, what does that mean? It means that these Christian financial counselors guide individuals and couples in making wise financial decisions, build sound financial habits, increase hopefully their biblical and financial literacy. So there's very much an educational component to that. So a Christian financial counselor is going to be having conversations about setting and obtaining financial goals, getting out of debt, building an emergency fund, building sinking funds, helping them understand their net worth, improving credit score, managing cash flow. You're doing all of those activities up until individual investment decisions, things of that nature. Those are reserved for a CFP. So a certified Christian financial counselor does those types of things. And if you're passionate about those pieces of finances, man, this may be a great program for you.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. And I think a lot of people need help like this, from someone who is certified, who has been educated. And so I want to ask you, and I know that we've talked a little bit about this before, but share with everyone, what exactly was it that inspired you to build this certification program? Because there's there's many different educational programs out there, but why this? Why a certification program? And also explain to us maybe why this could be different from just kind of a course that you might take to gain some knowledge. Because I've taken a fair number of courses myself, and I can definitely say that this certification program is different. But explain to us what does make it different, and the why behind it. Why did you do this?
Well, let's start talking about the importance of a certification. A certification validates knowledge. And it's important for a person to understand that whoever they're talking to, that there has been an outside entity, an outside organization that has given them a seal of approval to some extent, right? I mean, they can't obviously control everything, but they at least have demonstrated that, hey, they have this particular set of skills, this particular knowledge base that will be helpful in this scenario. And so a certification brings confidence. It creates a sense of trustworthiness. And so that's why certifications in general are important. Now, why a Christian financial counselor? Why look toward that particular program, look to build that particular program? Well, it's birthed out of experience with other programs. Now I have my undergrad in finance. I have an MBA. I have a DBA, which is a doctorate of business administration. I went through another financial counseling program, and I walked away thinking really two things. One, that the program itself was very secular in its approach. And understandably so. It didn't tout itself as a Christian program. I knew that going into it. And so it was very secular in its approach. In general, it taught you to identify the client's values or the person's values and just get them there. You don't question the values. You validate the values and try to get them there. You don't see if they align with what we find in Scripture. And that's a problem if you're a believer. So that was one. And then two, I felt like there was a need for an even better product, an even better delivery mechanism. So as a Christian, I knew that if we were going to do something like this, that we couldn't have a light version of a financial counseling program, that we had to try to make it the best, that it had to be most rigorous and the best product quality that we could possibly deliver, in part because we follow a God who tells us to do our best. And so we should certainly try to do that. And so there was a need out there that I saw. And honestly, there was just nobody else meeting the need. And so I started talking to some other people, and they say, yeah, you know what? There's a gap here. there's a real gap here where we need some type of certification program that's rigorous, that's of high quality, and that is done through a biblical worldview.
Absolutely.
So that whenever I send my friends, or if I'm a pastor and I'm sending a congregant to meet with somebody, whether it's being paid or whether they're doing it on a volunteer basis within the church, I can trust that not only are they well versed in finances, but they're also well versed in scripture and what the Bible says about that, and that they recognize that what they're dealing with might not necessarily be just a money issue, but also maybe a heart issue. As we've seen over and over and over again. I know, Katie, you have certainly seen this. When you're working with somebody who has a substantial amount of debt, oftentimes it's not that they had a lack of understanding of the numbers. Now, there may be some financial literacy there, but oftentimes there's some type of underlying heart issue. And even if you got them out of debt, you still haven't dealt with that heart issue, whether it's materialism, whether it's putting their hope in something like, a house, like possessions, like vacations. They're searching for their hope outside of God. Like, that has to be dealt with too. And so a Christian financial counselor does just that. Certainly, you help people with their finances, the nuts and bolts of their finances, the numbers. You're helping them with that, but you recognize that you're dealing more than with something greater than just numbers. That it often is a spiritual issue that you're dealing with as well. You know what? There's nothing out there that helps a person get there, trains them for that, or validates that particular set of skills and knowledge. And so that's why we have the Christian financial counseling program now.
Yeah, I can absolutely echo that there is no product like this. I probably for the last year or so get approached by lots of individuals, lots of really just believers who really feel like they want to help, that they know that they can help other believers, other Christians within their community, within their families, their friends. They have this passion and desire to help other people. And I have these individuals reach out to me and send me an email, and they're like, hey, I see that you are doing this. I want to know how you did it. Where do I start? I need just that one place. Like, is there something that you recommend? And for the longest time, I mean, my answer was, well, I kind of just stumbled into this. Like, that's definitely a way that people get into this. And it's how I did many years ago. But I really wish I had a very clear path of how can I set up a ministry like this for my friends, for my family, and then just for others. Like now, with this blog that I have and this YouTube channel and my coaching program, I'm able to reach many people. But I wasn't able to help those individuals very well who wanted to then go and help the individuals in their lives to do this. And so I'm just really excited that now I have this place to be like, here is your starting point. This is where you go to get certified, to get this education, to have a better understanding, and to have that knowledge to be able to help people really well. Because I mean, I learned the hard way. And I definitely, when I started, it was me just stumbling and just being like, well, I think I'm going to do this and then see if it works. And it would work a little bit, but then I'd have to learn something else. And so this is really awesome that this can be more of that, really that starting point. That's kind of a one-stop shop for your education from a biblical perspective on your finances. But with that, I know that this program isn't for everybody. And so I do want to know, who is this program actually designed for? Who would it be best suit when they're going through this? Because it obviously can't cover all of the bases, but who is it best for?
Yeah, Katie, that's actually a really, really good question. I want to answer it here in just a second. You reminded me of, you talked about those motivations. There was another motivation that was there that I want to make sure that I put into this episode. So I was having conversations with pastors who would regularly ask me a question. They would have somebody that would meet with them, and as they talk to them, whether it's an individual or couple, they would say, hey, we have a lot of debt, or we are struggling with our finances. Can you help us? And the pastor would say, I can't. That's not really my area of expertise. Some of them would just contact me and say, "Hey, Art, can you help them?" Because I can't. I have no idea what to tell them, how to direct them.
Yeah.
And so there's a need in the local church for something like this, whether it's a
Definitely.
position or maybe a volunteer position, which is more than likely what it would be, what it would look like in the church, where you have somebody that's certified within the church that you can point to and say, "Hey, you need to go and meet with Katie about your finances. She's actually been certified in this." Much like you have your marriage counselor in a church, you would have your Christian financial counselor. And so this could help solve that problem. Those were conversations that I was having. So that was another motivation.
Yeah,
Now
definitely.
you asked a really good question. You said, who is this program for? And you set up the question by saying, I know it can't be for everybody. And you are right. I want to make that very clear that this program is not for everyone. In fact, if you don't have a good financial base of knowledge, you're probably not going to appreciate and excel in this program. It may actually frustrate you a little bit. But let me go through some other signs that you may be good are good to go for this program, may enjoy this program. Number one is that you recognize that there's a need out there, that there's a really big need, which, by the way, there's a recent stat that was put out there. It said 39% of U.S. adults do not have a single person that they can turn to for trusted financial advice.
Wow.
That's a significant stat. 4 out of every 10 U.S. adults are saying, "Hey, you know what? If I got financial problems, I got nothing. I'm turning to TikTok. I'm turning to Twitter, Facebook, whatever, to try to figure this out on my own." And Katie, of course, that can be a very dangerous route to go. There's a lot of crazy things on TikTok right now, as it relates to finances. Some really, really bad financial advice that's being given, and so there's a need out there. And so if you recognize that there's a need, not just for someone who needs financial help, but somebody who needs financial help from a biblical worldview to understand God's design for money, then this, once again, may be a good program for you. And another is that you actually have people already coming to you for advice.
Yeah.
That was my experience. I know that's your experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where people are identifying you as somebody who seems to know a lot about finances. Yeah. And so are people naturally coming to you anyway, where people are saying, "Hey, can you help me with my finances? Can you help me think through debt? Can you help me think through my budget?" Or, "Hey, something's going on. Last year, we were okay, but now our finances are a mess, and we haven't really changed our spending habits at all. We haven't really changed our standard of living at all. But for some reason, we just can't seem to make ends meet anymore. What's going on?" Of course, that's inflation, right? I'm having those conversations now with people on a regular basis. Where they just don't know what's going on. They didn't do anything. Yeah. It's just the world around them changed, and the problem is they didn't do anything, right? So you have people coming to you. That may be another sign that you would be a good candidate for this program, where now you can get an outside organization saying, "Hey, you know what? They know their stuff. People already trust them, and they trust their advice. So that may be a sign that you should do that." Another one is that you actually like helping people. If you're going to be, yes, it is. If you're going to be a certified Christian financial counselor, you need to actually enjoy helping people, because that's what you are going to be. You have to enjoy the process. You have to enjoy watching people hit their goals. You have to enjoy that. And so, just like you would with any other type of counseling role, you need to actually enjoy working with people. Another one is that, as I mentioned before, you have a solid biblical financial background. So from a financial standpoint, maybe you've taken a few classes before, or maybe you've been doing this for a little while. If you just jump into it with very little financial knowledge, thinking that this is going to be your get out of debt solution, you're going to be disappointed. This is not meant to take you from load of debt to being debt free. That's not this type of program. It is a program that truly validates your knowledge. Now, there's a lot of reading, teaching. There's certainly those pieces in there, but you're going to have to come to the table with some financial knowledge, Katie. I know you've been through pieces of the program, so hey, you had a good financial background, so you're able to go through it, and it truly was just more of a, hey, Katie knows what she's talking about. She knows what she's doing when she's helping people, when she's putting together these videos, when she's doing all these things. She knows what she's talking about. So you have to have some type of good financial background to excel in this program. And then finally, I'd say that you need a desire to see the gospel advanced around the world. Now, let me tell you a little bit about that. It's kind of my not so secret agenda with all of this. Is if anybody knows me, they know that I'm just passionate about getting resources out to help reach the lost. There was a book called Inheritolatry. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I have heard of it. Maybe James you mentioned it to me.
I'm telling you, I probably have. It was highly influential in my life. I was already on this journey, but this kind of just sealed the deal for me. James Wise wrote a book called Inheritolatry. He's part of Ron Blue's organization, if you're familiar with Ron Blue, and is in the introduction or the first chapter, I believe, is right there at the beginning. He lays out the Great Commission opportunity that we have here in the United States. And he said, look, over the next couple of decades, we're going to see in the great wealth transfer about $30 trillion move from one generation to the next. So we're talking about 30 trillion. That's with the T. Go from one generation to the next. Then he went on to say, now let's assume that 25% of Americans are Christians. Now you can argue that number, but but ultimately you'll see that it won't matter. So he says specifically evangelical Christians. That's what he said. Let's assume 25%. Then he goes on to say, now there are about 3,200 unreached people groups in the world. These are people that have yet to hear the name of Jesus. They have not been given the opportunity that we have. We have Bibles galore here in the United States. These are people that nobody's ever said, hey, have you heard about Jesus? Like nobody, they have no access to the gospel whatsoever. 3,200 unreached people groups. Then he goes on to say, let's assume that it takes $75,000 per year to reach just one of those groups, which is a pretty accurate number. And then he goes on to say, let's assume that it takes 20 years to really engage a group. So it's not just about showing up, knocking on the door saying, hey, do you know Jesus? But it's about really engaging that particular group. And it takes a long time to do something like that. Because once again, these people have never heard about Jesus, don't have a Bible. There's nothing, no knowledge whatsoever. So if you do the math, which Katie, I know you already have, you got 3,200 unreached people groups, $75,000 per year times 20 years. That gets you to $4.8 billion with a B. Now, he goes on to say, let's just for fun, throw on the fact that Wycliffe Bible Translators is an organization, it's a great organization that is trying to translate the Bible into every tongue around the world so that everybody can read a scripture in their native language. They estimate that it takes about $1 billion to complete that mission. So we'll add the billion, we'll round it up, gets us to about $6 billion total. Now, remember, in the Great Wealth Transfer alone, we had, because 25% are Christians, that's 7.5 trillion with a T that will be in the hands of Christians in the Great Wealth Transfer alone. What he was trying to illustrate there was just the massive opportunity that we have been given here in the United States. I know it's an idealist picture there that he was painting. I know it's an idealist picture that I'm painting right now, but I can't help but think, okay, well, what if we don't do something about that? Like, God has truly given us this amazing opportunity. What if we don't do something about that? Are we going to be the Christians that future generations look back and say, okay, what were they thinking? What were they thinking? Because we know that we're not going to always have the same resources that we have. We know that there's not going to always be as many Christians as there are right now in the United States. We have an amazing opportunity, amazing window of time to do something significant. We literally have the resources to finish the Great Commission. That's insane to even think about.
Yep.
And so my not so secret agenda here, I want to help people get financially healthy. Because I recognize that there's a lot of pieces like debt and lack of budget. All these pieces are hindering their ability to participate in that mission. They're looking at the resources like, well, I've already committed it to whatever credit card company. I've already, I can't even, I have no margin in my budget. So how am I supposed to give? Of course, I would encourage them to start giving anyway. But my hope is to get people financially healthy so that then they can better leverage their resources for the advancement of God's kingdom. Let's bring that back to the certification program here. It's not going to be an Art Rayner deal to make that happen. It's not going to be a Katie Jones deal to make that happen. It's going to take an army of people that are helping others get financially healthy for the advancement of God's kingdom. So where does this certification come into play in the not so secret agenda? It's not even my secret agenda. It's God's, right? I mean, this is his mission. If we can get people going through this program, so other people can look at that credential, say, hey, I can trust them, and maybe motivate, an army of people to help people get financially healthy. Not so that they can just simply spend money on whatever they want. Not that material things in and of themselves are bad, but man, let's get people financially healthy for a greater why, more satisfying why. And that's the advancement of God's kingdom. And so that's my not so secret agenda with pretty much everything that I do. And this is a part of it. Once again, it's not an Art Rayner thing. I know I say my secret agenda. It's a God thing. And so I find it to be it's an honor just to be a part of it. Just that I get to be a part of God's mission, which you get to be that too, and everybody else does as well.
Yeah. He invites us all in, and I think it is awesome to help remind other believers and educate them that they do have a part to play in this mission.
Yes.
We all have been given resources, and we've all been invited and asked to participate. We've been called out as separate from the world, and we need to help to redeem it. And I think it's an amazing opportunity that we have. And at that, we have the resources to do it. And so we need to just think a little bit more and not get financially healthy just for the sake of financial health, right? And it's for this greater and grander purpose that we have been invited into. I just think it's awesome. And like you said, it's not necessarily our mission. It is our mission, but it's first and foremost God's, and we've been invited to participate and to further that mission and also invite others into it. And I think becoming a certified Christian financial counselor can really help to get this ball rolling even faster and to gain that momentum and that steam. And it's just really exciting to be a part of. So if someone now is listening to this, they're watching this and they are saying, okay, I have those 5 things like that. I kind of check all of those boxes.
Yep.
This is definitely something that I'm interested in. Tell us a little bit about what's inside of the program, what they can expect in it. And then maybe at the end, share how they can get started.
Yeah. Another really good question. So with the program, it is 32 modules. Now, each module contains a brief video, usually anywhere between 12 and 15 minutes, that's hitting on just one topic. Each module has a set of notes that you'll read. Those notes are based on required readings that you have. So yes, you do have to read.
There's homework.
Quite a bit of material. But once again, I mean, this is an important topic. You need to know your stuff. Love podcasts. I do my own, do my own podcast. Love YouTube channels. Watch this one all the time. But you can't just listen to podcast and watch YouTube channels and think that you're ready to go. Like you need a little bit more preparation for this particular task. And so yes, there's going to be a lot of reading, but anyway, you have the video, you have the notes, you have the readings that you have to do, and then you have another video that covers like usually some type of worksheet. And the reason why this was included in the program, so we have about 32 different worksheets. It's a worksheet that you would use with a client, that you would use with somebody who's sitting in front of you. I'm using the term client that assumes that it's a paid relationship. You may be in a church where it's not necessarily a client type relationship, but you can still use these types of forms, these types of worksheets, because often people are like, okay, well, I know the knowledge, but what do I do? So this is, once again, it's more the practical element there. So every module is going to have that practical element there. And then at the end of the module, there's just a very brief quiz, 5-question quiz that is just kind of helping you make sure you kind of got the material. You go through that entire program. Then you're ready to take the CertCFC exam. Now, this exam is not necessarily easy. So it's a 100-question exam, and it is a live proctored exam, meaning that yes, you have somebody that's actually watching to make sure that that you're not cheating. Not that we think that you would, but it also, once again, brings credibility to the program, and to that exam in and of itself. And so it's a live proctored exam that you have to go through. Assuming that you pass that examination, then you receive the certification. So that's a very brief overview of the program. I'm assuming it's typically going to take people about 3 to 12 months to complete, depending on, once again, the knowledge that they bring to the table. I recognize that people are all different levels of financial knowledge, and so I'm going to throw out 3 to 12 months for program completion.
Cool. Yeah. So it's all self-paced then, right?
It is. Yes. Yeah. Great question. It's all self-paced. Somebody were to sign up or enroll today, they could literally start today, assuming that you already have some of the books, some of the required readings.
Yeah. I actually really love the element of bringing in these other books. That was actually one of my favorite parts, kind of like going through some of this, was just reading, because even though I've been coaching now officially for over 2 years, there's so much that I didn't know. I mean, as I go through and read these books, whether they are like the actual textbook or some of these, books that other people have written on the topic of faith and finance, there's always something to be learning. And I think that is also, even if you have a financial background, I mean, even like you are like having like a degree in finance, it's like that. There is still something to be learned, and there's still education that you can gain for just to be the best, to be excellent at what you do. And again, like that is what we are called to as believers, is to just do everything with excellence. And just as you said in the very beginning, is this program is kind of built around that idea of like being the best, being that place, and just building other believers up to have the knowledge and the confidence and even the resources to be able to help others effectively and efficiently and for the glory of God. And I think that is kind of a good way to start to like sum a lot of it up. It's like there's so much to it, but it really is an excellent program. And so if you're listening and you are really interested, I highly recommend, I'll share links to your page, where you can start to get into this certification program, where you can enroll. Is there anything else that you want to share as far as like, if somebody is interested, what they need to know and how they can get started?
Yeah, I'm sure that the listeners have questions, and the good news is that they can go to christianfinancialhealth.com to get a lot of their questions answered. You're gonna go to the Institute for Christian Financial Health. So this certification is housed under the Institute for Christian Financial Health. and you can click on right at the top, it says certification. And if you have a lot of the questions, you have an FAQ section that will answer a lot of the questions. If not, you can always contact us at info@christianfinancialhealth.com. So that's an easy way to get your questions answered about this program.
Cool. Awesome. I really hope that listeners do go and check this out, because again, it really is, it's excellent, and it will set people up to be awesome at financial counseling from a biblical point of view. And yeah, Art, it has been a pleasure to get to talk to you more about this. And I'm really excited to finally get to share this with viewers and just with the world. And yeah, I am very excited about this. If anybody has questions about just the program and the course too in general, let me know, because I mean, I've kind of gone through most of that and would be happy to answer any questions just from a student point of view. But Art, thank you so much today. It's been a pleasure.
Katie, thank you so much for letting me share this. Obviously, I'm very excited about it. Not for my sake, but for the kingdom. I mean, this is once again, it's not an Art Rainer thing. It is hopefully truly a kingdom thing. I'm hoping that God will use it in ways that we could never imagine. And so, Katie, I'm thankful for you. Thankful for all the content that you continue to put out. As I mentioned right at the beginning, I mean, that's what as soon as I saw the content, I was like, oh man, this is good stuff. And so I want to encourage your listeners to continue listening and tell others about the work that Katie is doing, because the stuff is rock solid. And so it's just fun to be on mission with you, Katie, doing this and helping people get financially healthy while pointing them to Jesus. I mean, this is a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, and it is a pleasure to get to work alongside you, Art. I will catch you next time.
Sounds good.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on any new videos. And if you want to continue the conversation, or if you have any other questions about biblical money management, I want to invite you to our community called Redeeming Your Finances, where you can ask questions and gain encouragement on your journey towards becoming an excellent money manager. I hope to see you there.